conversation. We're still in this conversation about the cabal, the deep state, and their art of war. So in our first segment, we just put the picture briefly of who we're talking about when you're talking of the cabal. As a reminder, let us give you this scenario, the picture clearly, that there were no countries before. Right, people were just living under their tribal or ethnic leadership or governance systems with their values, their principles, their laws, their belief systems, and everything. Right, then came this group of people, business people, who apparently happen to be agents of a certain dark frequency in the spirit realms. They are an embodiment of this evil, So the spirits of the devil, operate through their bodies, operate through their agency, to achieve the will of evil, to spread iniquity, darkness, in this planet. We simply mean this group now set to hijack the entire planet on behalf of their gods, their masters, who happen to be were in the realms of darkness, or also in other spaces, geographic spaces somewhere, but they have realized that for them to survive, they really need the people of the earth. Not just the people of the earth, they also need the earth, this planet. Why? Because wherever they are, they are living in a world of advanced technology. So they have plundered their own space, their own place. That is why you'll hear such metaphors when they talk of Nibiru. If you have heard the stories of Enki and Enlil and the Anunnaki, if you have heard all those stories, you realize that, for that guy, to really have a life, he discovered gold in this planet, right? So they needed gold where? In their world, wherever they are. Because now there was climate change, the sun was just blacksmithing them, just burning them. So what they do, it is said that they just, collect gold, they process it, into gold dust, then they spray it into the atmosphere, in the ozone layer. Why? So that it can trap and neutralize the intensity of the violet rays, which is the rays of the sun. This is the story. But while these people now, they decide, because they are an embodiment of the evil. To them, evil is something of fun. They celebrate when they do evil. They don't have any other nature other than evil. That is why we have seen what colonialists did everywhere where they went to colonize. They'll use the heavy weaponry to destroy people, kill people, and even rape people and celebrate. That was then, but these days is worse. They even shoot, their video clips when they are doing all these evil things and post on social media. If you think I'm lying, look at what the Israelis soldiers are doing in Palestine. When they're torturing people, killing people, they shoot. When they see building going down after they launch bombs on them, they celebrate. Like, this is great. They are doing something great. You check what I'm saying. So this is the evil, operating through the agents of certain human beings. It began there in Europe. They had to conquer Europe first, destroy the life of Europeans, paralyze them, take everything, land from them, render them landless. The whole land now was controlled by the giant cooperation. Then they created these demarcations to say this is now a country, it's a state, right? They created the government now. What is the purpose then of the government? Let's look at it from the initial onset so that we can understand these things. The purpose now of the government is to just manage, human affairs. On behalf of who? Those who created this thing. These are giant corporations. As an example, here in Southern Africa, there came such a rapist and thugs like Cecil John Rhodes and Van Riebeeck. Cecil John Rhodes, was a stooge an agent of the Rothschild. They funded him so that he can come here and expand their empire. So remember, the Rothschild are the bankers. They introduced the banking system. They run the money of the world. We simply mean they run affairs of the world, but they are not working alone. There are many others, the Rockefellers, the Bilderberg, the Round Table, the Council of Foreign Relations, and a whole lot many, but all of them, conclusively work together. So Cecil John Roth conquer the space by force, paralyze and destroy indigenous governance systems, kill kings who were resisting, then now put geographic borders that encamp this space. This one is called South Africa. Then the other spaces that were conquered by Cecil John Roth, the other one was called Rhodesia, named after Rhodes himself. The other one was Northern Rhodesia, which is now the country called Zambia. Then after encamping this space, what did they do? They now say, let us create a government, right? So before then, these are companies, right? They are introducing the monetary system. We simply mean the bankers now come into space. They own the money. They run the money. They create money and sell money to the government. So they create now this thing called the government, which they're gonna use to control human beings in each given a colonial territory. You check. So even the thing that you hear saying is England is a colonial territory. France is a colonial territory. Portugal, Spain, and America, and Australia, all these places, those are colonial territories of these same people that we're talking about. Those are not countries. Forget. These are not sovereign states. Forget. The citizens in all those countries don't have a say over what they want. You check what I'm saying? Things are run by the deep state, controlling the government. They find whoever they want to be in power. So back to here in South Africa. Now they've encamped this space and call it a country. Initially, 1910, it was called the Union of South Africa. Initially. Then it became South Africa later. You check. So then now they create a government. And the Union of South Africa in 1910 was even before then. Once Cecil John Roth started and even Van Riebeeck conquering and creating space, it was under England. So 1910 is now the Union of South Africa, but it's under England. What is England? Another colony, colonized by giant corporations also. It's not a country, it's not a sovereign state, forget. You check. So under England now, 1910, the Union of South Africa. Now we have the banks, they run the money. We have all these mining companies. We have all these people who do farming. Those are just, They are just private companies. But they created what they call the government to hide themselves. Then they tell the government what they want to be done. So the government become a tool of the giant corporations. It takes commands from the giant corporations. Then to play a role of divide and rule, then in the next segment we'll be getting into the art of war. In their art of war, how they fight their own war for their own survival. We'll be getting into that. But there's an example now. After creating what they call the Union of South Africa, they had now to fracture people into what political parties. We had white people with their Liberal Party, we had Afrikaners with their party. You check, and then 1912, they had to create a party for the black people. That was what was called ANC. He's still alive even today. We'll be getting into that also. So stay tuned. Follow our conversation. So now these people from different identities now, they have their own parties. That's the divide and rule already. So, but these ones of the black was not involved in the government. The ANC was not involved in the government. It was only the whites that were involved in the government. But this is controlled by the private companies, But all this is under England. It's the property of England. It's the